It's not when you cry. It's not when you beg. It's not even when you try to make him see your worth. No, he doesn't miss you then. Because in those moments, he still believes you're his. Still thinks your heart is within reach. Still assumes you'll answer if he calls. Still counts on your loyalty, even after giving you reasons not to be loyal. Your silence speaks louder than your words. In a world full of noise, explanations, arguments, and endless conversations trying to prove a point, silence can be the most deafening response. It carries a weight that words often fail to deliver. Silence isn't just the absence of sound, it's the presence of strength, of boundaries, of self-worth. When you stop explaining yourself to someone who's not listening, when you stop repeating the same things hoping they'll suddenly understand or care, you begin to take back your power. Silence, in this sense, becomes a declaration, a statement that says, I'm done handing out clarity to someone who only uses it to twist, deny, or ignore the truth. You see, when someone is used to your emotional availability, your constant presence, your instant replies, your vulnerability, your silence is shocking. It's a disruption. They expect your voice, your questions, your concerns. When that disappears, they're forced to sit with something they never had to before themselves. No more distractions through your attempts to fix what they continued to break. No more reassurance. No more emotional cushioning. Silence makes people feel the consequences of their actions without you ever having to raise your voice. It's easy to think silence means weakness, that walking away without a final blow is giving up. But silence takes courage. It takes maturity to resist the urge to be understood by someone who has already shown you they're committed to misunderstanding you. It takes strength to withhold that message you want to send at midnight. It takes restraint to not pick up that call or answer that text that only reopens a wound you've been trying to heal. Silence is not passive. It is intentional. It is a decision to break a cycle instead of continuing to spin in it. When you become silent, you no longer feed the dynamic that kept you stuck. You're no longer trying to manage someone else's perception of you. You're no longer arguing about things that should have been obvious. No longer defending your heart to someone who wasn't careful with it. In that quiet, you create room for clarity, for healing, for growth. You start hearing your own thoughts again. You start understanding that peace isn't found in winning an argument. It's found in walking away from battles that were beneath you in the first place. The silence after chaos is powerful. It forces reflection. It creates discomfort. And sometimes that's exactly what the other person needs. Not to be yelled at, not to be begged or pleaded with, but to feel what life is like when your voice no longer fills their space, when your energy is no longer there to support them, carry them, or cushion their indifference. That's when the reality hits. That's when they begin to realize what they lost, not because you told them, but because you stopped telling them. Because you chose to let them experience the loss instead of warning them about it one more time. Your silence is the echo of all the times you spoke and weren't heard. It's every unreturned word, every overlooked effort, every tear that was met with indifference. Your silence is the closure they never thought they'd get, not because you didn't offer it, but because they didn't know how to receive it. And in that silence, they're left to face the version of themselves that pushed you to this point. And the truth is, some people only begin to understand your value when your silence forces them to confront the void your presence once filled. When your words stop chasing understanding, when your love stops making up for their lack, when your care is no longer their fallback, that's when your silence becomes the loudest message you've ever sent. Not out of bitterness, not out of revenge, but because you finally realize that peace is quieter than chaos and strength often sounds like nothing at all. Healing shifts your energy in ways that are quiet, profound, and often unexplainable to those who haven't walked through the fire themselves. It's not just about moving on, it's about transforming from the inside out. When you begin to heal, your entire frequency changes. The things that once triggered you start to lose their grip. The people who once had power over your emotions slowly fade into background noise. Healing is not always loud. Sometimes it's silent and still, but its effects are undeniable. It rearranges your perspective, your boundaries, your desires, and most of all, your energy. You start noticing the little things that no longer feel aligned with your spirit. Certain conversations become draining instead of engaging. Certain behaviors you once tolerated now feel suffocating. Places you once went for comfort begin to feel unfamiliar. Healing makes you more sensitive to what disturbs your peace, and that's not weakness, that's wisdom. You begin to realize how precious your energy is, and you no longer give it away carelessly. You start becoming more intentional with your presence. Not everyone gets access to you anymore, and that shift is both powerful and necessary. As you heal, your confidence starts to rebuild itself from a deeper place. No longer is your worth tied to someone else's ability to see it. You don't need to convince anyone of your value because your healing reminds you daily that you are already enough. That internal assurance radiates through your energy. People start noticing a different glow in you, not because you changed your clothes or your hair or your status, but because your spirit feels lighter, more grounded, more whole. Healing strips away the need to prove anything. You begin walking into rooms differently. You start speaking less and observing more. You carry a calm that can't be faked and a strength that can't be shaken. What healing also does is remove your tolerance for chaos. Where you once might have chased after closure, now you let go. Where you once might have begged to be understood, now you understand yourself enough to walk away. You stop explaining your boundaries and just enforce them.
You stop apologizing for growing out of people, places, or versions of yourself. Your energy becomes less about survival and more about alignment. You don't just want peace, you protect it fiercely because you now know what it costs to earn it. Healing isn't linear. There are days you feel the weight of what you've been through and days you feel free from it. But even in the up and down, your energy keeps evolving. You start responding instead of reacting. You start pausing instead of exploding. You listen to your body, your intuition, and your soul, and they guide you to people and spaces that honor your growth. Your energy becomes a filter. It attracts what nourishes you and repels what drains you. That's not arrogance. That's self-respect. You also stop over-explaining yourself. You no longer chase after people who misunderstand you because your healing taught you that being seen is not about being loud. It's about being real. And those who are meant to connect with you on this healed level will do so without force. Your relationships start to change. Some fall away naturally, others deepen in ways you never expected, because healing helps you communicate from a place of clarity, not pain, from a place of love, not fear. And that shift changes everything. There's also a sacred kind of loneliness that comes with healing. You'll outgrow people. You'll detach from patterns. You'll walk alone for a while. But that solitude becomes fertile ground. In that quiet space, you reconnect with your essence. You rediscover what brings you joy, peace, and purpose without needing someone else to give it to you. That reconnection bursts an energy that is magnetic, resilient, and unshakable. Healing shifts your energy in ways that protect you from ever settling for less than you deserve again. It teaches you discernment. It teaches you presence. It teaches you how to sit with yourself and be whole, even if others left you fragmented. And that kind of shift doesn't just change your life, it changes your future. Your glow becomes your closure when you stop searching for explanations from those who refuse to give you honesty, when you stop begging for accountability from people who chose to hurt you and walk away. There comes a time when you realize that no apology, no clarity, no sudden realization from the person who broke you will ever make you feel whole again. Because healing, real healing, doesn't come from their words. It comes from your decision to rise. It comes from your ability to rebuild yourself without their presence, without their validation, without their permission. Your glow is the result of the pain you carried and finally decided to put down. It's what happens when you stop waiting at the closed door, hoping it will open again. It's what grows from the parts of you that were once torn apart by disappointment, abandonment, and betrayal. The glow isn't immediate. It doesn't show up in the middle of your breakdowns or the silence of your tears. It comes after. It comes when you finally understand that their inability to love you properly had nothing to do with your worth and everything to do with their limitations. It comes when you begin to love yourself in the way they failed to, with consistency, with patience, with truth, and then slowly your smile becomes softer, your peace becomes louder, your presence becomes lighter. You're not carrying the weight anymore. You're not forcing things. You're not chasing what was never meant to stay. That's when the glow starts to shine. It's not loud or dramatic. It's quiet and certain. It's visible in how you walk away with dignity. It's felt in how you no longer react to their attempts to get under your skin. Your glow shows in your boundaries, in your self-respect, in your ability to stay grounded, even when your past tries to pull you back in. You see, closure is not something they give you. It's something you claim, and your glow is the evidence that you've claimed it. It's the way you show up now. It's the confidence that radiates from someone who survived what was meant to break them. It's in your laughter that now comes from a genuine place. It's in your peace that no longer depends on anyone else. The people who hurt you may not understand the pain they caused, but they will see your glow. They will feel the shift. And maybe, just maybe, they will realize what they lost. Not because you told them, but because they can see you've become someone they can no longer reach. Your glow isn't revenge. It's not about making anyone jealous or proving a point. It's not about being better than them. It's about being better for you. It's the light that comes from walking through darkness and choosing not to live there anymore. It's the transformation that happens when you stop giving your energy to those who only drained it. You stop explaining, stop defending, stop justifying, and you just live. And in that living, you shine, you evolve, you inspire. People often look for closure in the same place that broke them, hoping that one more conversation or one more chance will ease the sting. But true closure comes when you stop looking back and start building forward. It comes when you understand that healing doesn't mean forgetting. It means freeing yourself from the grip of that memory. It means making peace with the fact that some people will never say sorry, never grow, never change, but you did, and that's your closure. You glow because you chose to survive, because you chose to heal, because you chose to stop letting your story be defined by the ones who mishandled your heart. And now your glow is your answer to everything they never gave you. It's the response you never sent. It's the explanation you no longer owe. It's the peace you created all by yourself. And that peace, that light, that power is more than enough. You stop needing validation when you finally realize that no amount of external approval can fill the void left by self-neglect. It takes time to reach that point. Time spent giving too much, proving too often, and shrinking too small for people who only saw what they wanted to see. At first you think that if you love harder, if you work more, if you explain better, people will understand you, choose you, and value you. But after enough letdowns, enough inconsistencies, and enough emotional exhaustion, you begin to see a truth that stings before it liberates. Validation from others is fleeting, conditional, and unreliable. That's when you begin the journey back to yourself. It's a quiet transformation. You no longer ask for opinions before making decisions that feel right to your soul. You no longer seek constant reassurance from people who are inconsistent with their care. You stop needing others to clap for you in order to feel proud of how far you've come. You stop over-explaining your choices to people who never had to live your pain or carry your burdens. The silence becomes comforting, not threatening. You start enjoying your own approval. You start liking the sound of your own intuition guiding you. You no longer ask for permission to be who you are. When you stop needing validation, you stop performing. You stop wearing masks just to fit in or to be palatable to someone else's expectations. You realize that being liked is not the same as being loved, and being accepted by the crowd means nothing if it costs you your authenticity. So you start choosing realness over approval, even if that realness costs you a few connections. The trade-off is worth it, because your peace becomes more important than their praise. Your self-respect outweighs their acceptance. You no longer feel the pressure to prove your worth. You know it, and knowing it silences the hunger for validation. This shift doesn't mean you become closed off or arrogant. It means you become whole. You can accept feedback without it defining your identity. You can listen to criticism without crumbling. You can walk away from people who don't see your light without dimming it. You realize that people can have opinions, but they don't get to define your truth. You learn to distinguish between constructive insight and manipulation disguised as concern. You become protective of your mind, your energy, your spirit. And that protection doesn't come from insecurity. It comes from growth. As you grow, the things you once craved from others begin to lose their grip on you. The compliments don't hit the same because you already believe in your beauty. The invitations don't excite you as much because your solitude has become sacred. The approval you used to wait for now feels like a bonus, not a necessity. You no longer bend yourself out of shape for anyone to like you. You stand firm, and those who resonate will find you. You don't need everyone to understand you, just the right ones. And more importantly, you understand yourself. The greatest peace comes when you wake up one day and realize you are no longer living your life for an audience. You're no longer chasing validation through titles, attention, or affirmation. You're doing it for you, your joy, your fulfillment, your purpose. That's when your energy changes. That's when your confidence becomes unshakable. People can misjudge you, misunderstand you, even walk away from you, and it no longer breaks you, because you're no longer held together by their approval. There's a calm that settles in your soul when you stop needing to be seen by everyone and start being seen by yourself. You no longer ask, do they think I'm enough? You already know you are. You no longer wait to be chosen. You choose yourself over and over again. And in doing so, you stop seeking validation because your identity is no longer up for negotiation. You've reclaimed it. You've redefined it. And now you live it, unapologetically. You become the lesson when your absence teaches more than your presence ever could. When the same person who took you for granted begins to realize that what they dismissed was rare. You don't have to say a word. You don't have to prove a point. Just by walking away, just by no longer being available, you reveal the truth they refuse to acknowledge. You become the moment when they finally understand that loyalty isn't guaranteed, that love isn't replaceable, and that good hearts don't come with infinite chances. You were never there to be used, underestimated, or mishandled. You were the blessing, and now you are the lesson. Sometimes people only learn through loss. They don't realize how much light you brought into their life until darkness surrounds them. They don't feel the comfort of your love until it's gone. They don't see the stability you gave until chaos takes its place. You become the lesson when they try to find you in someone else and come up empty. When they replay your words, your warnings, your wisdom, and finally hear what they ignored. You become the echo of what they should have cherished, the standard they now compare everyone else to. Not because you wanted revenge, but because you outgrew their inability to grow with you. Being the lesson means you chose yourself over tolerating their immaturity. You stopped accepting half-effort, excuses, and emotional games. You no longer explained your worth. You demonstrated it by leaving. And in doing so, you taught them what self-respect looks like. You taught them what happens when a person heals and reclaims their dignity. You taught them that good intentions mean nothing without consistent actions. You taught them that love is not something to be taken lightly, that it requires care, honesty, and presence. When you become the lesson, it's not about causing pain. It's about being the wake-up call they didn't know they needed. It's about standing tall in your truth, even if it means being misunderstood. It's about refusing to be treated like an option and becoming the reason someone finally learns not to take people for granted. You become the shift in their mindset, the turning point in their story, the reminder that everyone has a breaking point, and once crossed, there's no going back to what used to be. And still, you move forward with grace. You don't watch their downfall. You don't wait for their regret. You don't base your healing on their apology. Because becoming the lesson also means you've evolved. You've released the need for closure, for validation, for recognition. You've stopped expecting them to become someone they never were. You've let go of the illusion that they would one day see your worth. And ironically, it's in that detachment that they finally do. But by then, it's too late, because you've grown into someone who no longer fits inside the small space they kept you in.
Being the lesson is a role you never asked for, but one you earned by rising above what tried to break you. It's the result of choosing healing over bitterness, growth over revenge, and peace over chaos. It's knowing that your journey may serve as someone else's transformation, that your courage to walk away may be the very thing that teaches someone to do better next time. And whether they learn or not, whether they change or not, you've already won. Because while they sit with the weight of what they lost, you walk forward carrying only the strength of what you've gained. You become the lesson that lingers in their memory long after the apologies are too late and the chances are gone. You are the realization that no one should ever treat love like a guarantee. You are the shift, the mirror, the consequence, not out of cruelty but out of necessity. And in becoming the lesson, you also become free. Free from the patterns, the pain, the confusion. Free to live, to love again, and to never settle for less than what your heart truly deserves. Top of form.